Ladies and gentlemen, you must understand something before anything in your life will change. Your mind is the battlefield. Everything that happens to you, every failure, every success, every emotion, every excuse starts there. Before you ever lift a weight, start a business, send an email, or walk into a room, you've already won or lost in your mind. And if you don't control it, you'll always be a slave to it. People walk around every day thinking they're in charge of their lives, but they're not. They're puppets, their emotions pull the strings, they're tired so they don't go to the gym, they're anxious so they don't take risks, they're bored so they scroll for hours, they're scared so they avoid the very thing that could change their life. All because their mind is not under their control. Their thoughts run wild and they obey them like dogs. Let me break this down for you. The average person is weak, soft, and undisciplined, and it has nothing to do with genetics. It has everything to do with how they manage their internal world. That internal world, your mindset, that's where the real war is fought. You win in the gym not because of your muscles, but because you already decided in your mind that you would show up no matter how you feel. You win in business because you convinced yourself that success is not optional, that quitting is not an option, that excuses are for losers. Let me ask you, who's in charge, you or your mind? Be honest. When your alarm goes off and your brain says, hit snooze, do you argue back or do you comply? When you feel like watching YouTube for 3 hours instead of working on your goals, do you say no or do you fold? You have to get brutally real with yourself, because until you consciously decide to take full ownership of your thoughts, your mind will keep you exactly where you are: broke, average, and invisible. Your brain is a tool, a machine. It is not the boss. You are the operator, and the machine will do whatever you train it to do, but most people never train it. They just feed it junk, distractions, instant gratification. Toxic habits, fear, and over time that becomes their reality. They don't even realize it. They've programmed themselves to be losers. They don't take risks because their mind says, what if it goes wrong? They don't work harder because their mind says, you've done enough. They don't improve because their mind says it's too late. Let me make this clear. You can't have a strong life with a weak mind, and controlling your mind doesn't mean you never feel fear or doubt. You'll still feel it, but you don't bow to it. You act anyway. You dominate anyway. You say to your mind, I hear you, but I'm doing this anyway. Discipline is not a feeling. It's a decision every damn day. Now, how do you begin to take back control? You start by creating awareness. You start watching your thoughts instead of believing all of them. When a thought comes in, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'll do it later. Stop. Question it, break it, replace it. Then you build rituals that reinforce your control. Cold showers, early mornings, hard workouts, deep work, fasting, things that train your mind to obey you instead of the other way around. Every time you do something uncomfortable, every time you do what's hard when your brain says don't, you reinforce the truth that you are in control. And that's the key: doing what you said you'd do, especially when you don't feel like it. That's real power. That's real masculinity. That's how empires are built. You think the kings of the past waited to feel good? No, they woke up and went to war. You want to be successful. You want to be powerful. You want freedom, respect, money, women, legacy. Then control your damn mind, because once you master your thoughts, the world has no choice but to follow. You can either be the man who is run by his mind, or the man who runs the world because he controls it. Choose. Most people are completely unaware of how dangerous it is to live by emotion. They think it's normal to act based on how they feel, to let their mood dictate their day, to wait until they're motivated before they take action. It's pathetic, and it's the #1 reason most men will never win. Emotion is weakness when it runs your life. Discipline is strength because it's consistent, it's reliable, and it doesn't care how you feel. You see, your emotions are temporary, but your actions become permanent. That decision to skip the gym today because you were tired, that builds weakness. That choice to scroll for 2 hours because you were stressed, that's programming your mind to cope like a coward. That time you lashed out in anger or quit a goal because it got hard, that's you surrendering to a temporary feeling and letting it destroy long-term greatness. Discipline is doing what must be done whether you feel like it or not. It's the ultimate flex. Every man wants to feel powerful, respected, admired, but that doesn't come from being emotional. That comes from doing the things most people can't do, showing up every single day, even when it sucks. You think I feel like grinding every day? No, you think I feel like waking up early, working out when I'm sore, answering calls when I'm exhausted, strategizing when my brain is fried? Of course not. But I do it anyway, because my emotions don't own me. I own them. That's discipline. That's power. Weak men are ruled by emotion. They say things like, I didn't feel like it today. I just wasn't in the right headspace. I was too tired. I was anxious. Do you think kings, warriors, CEO, and champions got where they are by giving in to those thoughts? No, they built their lives on discipline, not feelings. Let me break it down. Emotions fluctuate. They lie. They deceive you. You feel tired, but you're not actually tired. You're just unmotivated. You feel scared, but fear is just your brain exaggerating the risk. You feel lazy, but deep down, you know you want to improve. And in every one of those moments, you have a choice: obey the emotion or override it. When you override it, when you do the opposite of what your feelings tell you, you level up. You reprogram your brain to see that it doesn't need to feel good to take action. You stop being a slave and start being a man. Discipline isn't built in comfort. It's built in resistance. Every time you feel weak and act strong, you harden your mind. Every time you feel lazy and still execute, you build self-respect. And that's the currency of winners, not money, not likes, not approval, self-respect. You don't get that from sitting on your emotions. You earn it from doing hard things consistently. Do you want to know why most men stay average? Because they confuse feelings with facts. They think being sad means they're broken. They think being scared means they shouldn't try. They think being tired means they've earned a break. Wrong. All of that is weakness disguised as logic. Real men do what needs to be done, regardless of emotion. It's raining, go run. You're sore, go train. You're broke, wake up earlier and build something. You're heartbroken, good. Let that pain fuel the discipline to become unbreakable. The world doesn't give a damn about how you feel. Results are what matter. Legacy is what matters. Impact is what matters. And you don't build that by feeling good. You build it by staying consistent, staying sharp, staying dangerous every damn day. Let me tell you something that nobody told you growing up. You will never feel like doing the things that change your life. You won't feel like eating clean, working late, reading books, doing cold showers, lifting heavy, waking up early, or controlling your thoughts. You won't feel like doing any of it, and yet you must, because the difference between the man who has everything and the one who has nothing, it's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even intelligence. It's discipline over emotion. When your feelings say stop, a discipline says go. When your emotions say rest, a discipline says push. When your mind screams quit, a discipline whispers finish. And in the long run, that voice, that cold, clear voice of discipline, is the one that turns ordinary men into legends. So ask yourself today, are you living based on how you feel or based on what you decided? Because every time you choose discipline, you silence the weak version of you and move one step closer to becoming the man you were born to be. Want the next keynote expanded as well, or ready to turn all of this into a course, style video script, podcast outline, or YouTube content? You were born into a system designed to make you soft, obedient, and dependent. You think society has your best interests in mind. Wake up. Society isn't here to make you powerful. It's not here to help you win. It's designed to make you predictable, weak, emotional, controllable, a cog in the machine. From the moment you were a child, they started programming you. Sit still, don't speak too loud, don't be aggressive. Don't fight back, be nice, be sensitive, be safe, play it safe, do what you're told, obey the rules, fit in, blend in, go to school, get a degree, get a job, work 40 years, retire with nothing. That's the default script. They feed you the slave mindset. And most people swallow it whole. They grow up believing that comfort is success, that safety is happiness, that feelings matter more than facts, that average is acceptable, that struggle is a sign of failure instead of a requirement for greatness. It's all lies. The system doesn't reward strength, it suppresses it. The moment you become self-reliant, mentally unbreakable, financially independent, you become dangerous, and dangerous men are not what the system wants. The system wants men who will sit quietly, work a job they hate, pay taxes, follow orders, and never ask why they're still broke, still depressed, still weak. They want you chasing distractions, mindless entertainment, pornography, celebrity drama, politics, virtual validation, digital dopamine. Because as long as you're distracted, you're not focused, and a man without focus is a man without power. Why do you think everything is designed to keep you comfortable, everything's automated, everything's easy? There's a shortcut for everything: food delivered to your door, entertainment on demand, information spoon-fed in 15-second clips. But comfort is a drug, and you've been overdosing on it for years. They've created a world where the average man can survive doing the bare minimum. And so he does. He doesn't build, he doesn't suffer, he doesn't sharpen his mind, he doesn't develop discipline. He lives on autopilot, emotionally fragile, physically weak, spiritually empty. That's not living. That's being processed. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize: you can reprogram yourself. Just like they programmed weakness into you, you can choose to upload strength. But it takes awareness, effort, and pain. You have to unplug from the matrix, not the one in movies, the real one, the mental matrix, the one that lives in your habits, your thoughts, your routines. Every time you do something hard, when you say no to comfort, when you resist temptation, when you push through pain, you start rewriting the code. You start becoming the man they tried to erase. You stop being a follower. You stop waiting to be saved. You stop relying on external motivation. Instead, you become dangerous, you become sovereign, you become unshakable. Society won't teach you how to get rich. It won't teach you discipline, how to control your emotions, how to win in the real world. Why? Because a man who doesn't need the system is a threat to it. They teach you algebra and Shakespeare, but not how to invest, how to sell, how to lead, how to win. That's not an accident, that's strategy. You must become your own master, your own teacher, your own leader. Learn what school never taught you. Learn how to suffer. Learn how to sacrifice. Learn how to reject comfort and embrace pressure. Because pressure builds diamonds, and you were not born to be soft clay. You were born to be a weapon. Look around, weak men are everywhere. Depressed, anxious, broke, addicted to their phones, terrified of risk, full of excuses. That's what society has produced, but the strong, the focused, the disciplined, we're rare, and that's why we win. So if you want to win, you must reject their programming. You must look at the world with cold eyes and say, I refuse to be soft. I refuse to be average. I refuse to be another cog. Instead, you become the exception. You become the man who doesn't need approval, who doesn't bend to emotion, who doesn't rely on handouts. You become self-made mentally, physically, financially. You build your mind like a fortress. You build your life like a kingdom, because society will not build it for you. It will bury you in weakness unless you fight back with force, and the battlefield isn't outside, it's in your habits, your focus, your mind. Win there, and the world is yours. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your greatest teacher, it's your sharpest weapon. It's the purest form of truth you'll ever encounter. But you've been raised to believe the opposite, that pain is something to avoid, something to escape, something to numb. That's the exact mindset that creates weak men, broke men, invisible men. You've been brainwashed to think pain is punishment, but pain isn't punishment, it's feedback. It's your body and mind screaming at you, not to quit, but to evolve. It's telling you that something needs to change, that you're being challenged to grow. Yet most people run from it, they hide, they medicate. They distract themselves. They bury their pain in food, in screens, in substances, in excuses. But real men, we lean into pain. We use it. We know that behind every painful moment lies the potential for massive transformation if you have the balls to face it. You want success. You better get comfortable being uncomfortable. You better understand that pain is the price. There is no strength without struggle, no growth without discomfort, no glory without sacrifice. The man who avoids pain avoids progress. The man who uses pain becomes unstoppable. That heartbreak you went through, good, now you know what betrayal feels like. Use that, fuel your discipline, channel it into your mission. That failure that embarrassed you, perfect, now you've felt the sting of loss and you'll work twice as hard next time. That rejection that crushed your ego, beautiful, now you'll become so undeniable, no one will ever ignore you again. Pain is information, it's a mirror, it reveals who you are, where you're weak, where you need to level up. It strips away your fake confidence and forces you to confront your flaws. And in that confrontation, if you have courage, you become something stronger, something sharper, something dangerous. People complain about their pain like it's some unfair burden. Why me? It's not fair. I didn't deserve this. A wrong mindset. The strongest men in history didn't ask, why me? They asked, what is this here to teach me, and how can I use it to become a weapon? Because here's the truth, every man suffers. Every man gets hurt. Every man feels pain mentally, emotionally, physically, but only a few men weaponize it. Only a few alchemize it into focus, drive, clarity, and unshakable mindset. And those men, they win every time. You've got two choices every time pain shows up. You either let it break you or you let it build you. You either cry, complain, and fold, or you get up, tighten your fists, and say, let's go. You think discipline comes from inspiration. No, it comes from pain. Pain builds patience. Pain builds hunger. Pain builds rage, and rage, when controlled, is power. You want to be the man in control. Learn to sit with pain and keep moving forward. Learn to bleed and still execute. Learn to cry and still rise. When you stop running from pain, you take away its power. You stop fearing it. And when a man no longer fears pain, he becomes invincible. That's why weak men stay weak, because they avoid what makes them strong. They stay in comfort. They never test themselves. They never feel the edge. But a man who's walked through hell, who's built himself in the fire, that man walks into a room and owns it. That man doesn't flinch when life hits, because he's been hit before and he kept coming. Understand this, pain is the most honest friend you'll ever have. It won't lie to you. It won't flatter you. It won't let you stay the same. It will demand your best or it will destroy you. So what's it going to be? You can either continue numbing your life, living soft, blaming everything around you, or you can face your pain, embrace it, and turn it into strength. Because that's how real men are made, not in peace, not in pleasure, but in pain, controlled, focused, directed. That's what separates warriors from weaklings. That's what separates leaders from losers. You think it's a curse? No, brother. It's your weapon. Use it. You want freedom? Stop fantasizing about it and start earning it. Because freedom doesn't come from hoping, wishing, or dreaming. Freedom is the reward for control. Not external control, not control over others, not political control. Control over yourself, your mind, your emotions, your decisions, your time, your habits, your energy. That's where it starts. That's where it always starts. Every man says he wants to be free to travel when he wants, to live how he wants, to wake up when he wants, to say what he wants, to buy what he wants. But ask him what time he woke up today. Ask him how many hours he wasted scrolling. Ask him how many days he skipped the gym, the grind, the hard work. Ask him what he's actually in control of, and the answer is nothing. You cannot have freedom without discipline. You cannot have options without sacrifice. You cannot live on your terms when your mind, body, and habits are owned by impulse and weakness. A man who can't control himself is not a man, he's a slave in disguise. A slave to his emotions, a slave to his urges. A slave to distractions, a slave to comfort, a slave to excuses, and no slave is free, no matter how much he posts about grinding or hustling online. Real freedom doesn't start with money, it starts with mindset. If you can't control when you go to sleep, when you wake up, how you eat, how you think, how you react, how you train, how you speak, you're not free. You're just another man on autopilot, doing what feels good in the moment, being dragged around by your feelings like a puppet. But when you take full command of your mind, everything changes. You stop living reactive, you stop chasing pleasure, you start moving with intention, you start creating your life instead of responding to it. That's what separates the powerful from the powerless. The powerful man doesn't wait for opportunities. He creates them because he's in control of himself. Freedom isn't waking up whenever you want. Freedom is waking up at 5 a.m. because you said you would and doing it every day until no one can compete with your consistency. Freedom isn't eating whatever you want. Freedom is having the strength to eat for performance, to build the body that wins respect, not validation. Freedom isn't spending recklessly. Freedom is building your financial empire, stacking cash, investing wisely, so you never have to answer to another man again. Discipline is freedom. Control is freedom. Focus is freedom, and guess what? The world respects men who are in control. You walk differently when you know you're in command of yourself. You speak differently, you breathe differently, you become magnetic. People listen when you talk. Women trust your leadership. Men look at you with respect or envy. Either way, they notice. But none of that happens if you're still a slave to your own weaknesses. So kill them. Kill laziness, kill self-doubt, kill the distractions, kill that voice in your head that says, "I'll do it tomorrow." Tomorrow is for the men who lost today. You want to live on your terms. Build that life. That empire, that unshakable mindset, and the way you build it is by mastering control not once, not when you feel like it, but every single day, every single choice, every single second. Freedom is not handed to you. It is taken by force, and the first battlefield is your mind. You either dominate yourself or you get dominated by the world. You either build a life by design or you become a character in someone else's system. The men who rule the world aren't the smartest. They're not even the most talented. They're the most disciplined, the most strategic, the most in control. They don't let the external world shake their internal one. And because of that, they win. They win financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and they stay winning. So don't ask for freedom. Earn it. Earn it through control. Earn it through consistent action. Earn it through brutal honesty with yourself. Because when you are in full control of your mind and actions, the world becomes your chessboard, and freedom becomes the only outcome.